Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about a simple, powerful, and very ancient mixture that can really help your health, which is the combination of turmeric and garlic. These two foods on their own are already amazing and fantastic, but when we combine them, we can enhance these beneficial effects for our body even more. I'm going to explain what each one does in our body, why it makes even more sense to consume them together, how to use them in your daily routine, and other important precautions. You're going to love this video, so stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you if there's any combination, any food mixture that you use in your daily life for better health and quality of life. I would love to see your comment. Remember that I have a playlist of amazing food combinations where I talk about mixes of foods that are already good on their own, but even better for our health when combined. I'll leave this playlist down below in the description for you. When we think about this combination, we definitely think about inflammation and immunity because these foods are already fantastic. When we think of turmeric, we think of how it acts mainly by modulating inflammation. And when we think of garlic, it acts mainly on the immune response, on our body's defense. So, when we use both together, we help our body respond better to various health issues. This is the key point of this mixture. Let's start by talking a little more about turmeric and its role in inflammation. We know that turmeric contains curcumin, but also many other curcuminoids and many other bioactive compounds. But curcumin is one of the main active compounds in turmeric and one of the most studied. So, when we think about inflammation, we usually think about curcumin and inflammation itself. We need to make this very clear. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a natural reaction of our body, of course. It's there to repair tissues and fight infections. The problem is when this inflammation stays elevated for a long time, isn't actually linked to a real infection, and acts silently every day. That's what we call low-grade chronic inflammation. This type of inflammation usually doesn't cause clear symptoms. You won't necessarily feel pain, a twinge, or notice anything red or swollen, but over time it can gradually and silently disrupt the normal functioning of our body without showing obvious signs. And when this inflammation is high, when this low-grade chronic inflammation is increased, our body enters a state of constant wear and tear. It spends more energy trying to defend itself and functions less efficiently. That's why science has already determined that when the body has a high level of chronic low-grade inflammation, it's linked to slower recovery from colds and infections, more body, joint, and muscle pain, a slower metabolism, more difficulty losing weight, and a disorganized immune system. In other words, the body is always too busy to respond properly. And curcumin acts directly here. It helps to slow down this excess inflammation in the body, but without blocking the body's defense mechanisms. This is important because it doesn't turn off, so to speak, the immune system. We wouldn't want that, of course. It doesn't prevent the response to viruses and bacteria that might show up in your body. It simply prevents this inflammation from becoming excessive, from becoming too pronounced or overwhelming. In addition, it's also important to mention that curcumin has antioxidant properties, which means it helps neutralize excess free radicals in our body. These are substances that increase cell wear and accelerate premature aging. So, when inflammation is better controlled, the body recovers more effectively, pain tends to decrease, metabolism works more efficiently, and the immune system responds in the more organized way we would like. So, that's why we can't see turmeric as an immediate remedy either. Obviously, that's not the point of this video, but rather that it's a continuous support for our body's functioning, helping the body to work better. As for allicin, which is present in garlic, I'll tell you more about it, including how to stimulate more allicin in garlic, because what actually comes in garlic is alliin, but I'll explain in a bit how to increase that. It has been studied a lot, right, for thousands of years already. In ancient times, garlic was already used as a medicine for that era, and allicin acts on several fronts at the same time. First, it supports the immune system's response. This means it helps the defense cells to better recognize invaders, respond more efficiently, and act in an organized way. This is not an exaggerated stimulus, it's a functional support. Second, because allicin has a mild antimicrobial action. Of course, it's not going to act like an antibiotic, a real, strong medicine, but it does make it harder for some microorganisms to proliferate and creates a favorable environment for good viruses and bacteria, and to prevent the growth of harmful viruses and bacteria, helping the body control mild infections. That's why garlic is usually more used for people who are at the onset of symptoms, with mild colds, and as a preventive support during times of greater exposure in winter when allergies are more common. So, garlic is not going to directly kill the virus. What it does is help the body deal better with their presence. It contributes to a more efficient immune response, lower inflammatory load, and better recovery capacity. That's why many people who frequently use garlic and turmeric report shorter colds, less intense symptoms when they catch a cold, and a faster recovery when they use them regularly. Another very important effect of garlic is the improvement of vascular function. We know that the sulfur compounds present in garlic help blood vessels to relax, improve blood flow, and promote the delivery of oxygen and nutrients. This ends up being fundamental for the functioning of the immune system, tissue recovery, and the body's overall response. That's why we say that garlic also helps in the process of controlling blood pressure and so on. Now, we need to adjust our expectations, as I mentioned to you. Garlic is not going to replace antibiotics, and turmeric is not going to replace anti-inflammatories. That's not the point of this video. The idea is to tell you how, by using them regularly in your daily life, you can achieve this control, improving your immune system function and managing inflammation in your body. But if you already have a health condition, you need to see a doctor and seek treatment. Remember that this video is for informational purposes only. They work mainly as prevention and at the onset of milder symptoms, supporting the immune system. Always keep that in mind. And I told you I was going to give you a tip about consuming garlic. Because what's in garlic when we take it to cook is allicin, but allicin needs to be transformed, converted into allicin. For that to happen, the cell needs to be broken so it can come into contact with alliinase, which is an enzyme. To put it more simply for you to understand, the ideal way to maximize the effect of garlic is to chop, crush, or squeeze the garlic about 15 minutes before using it, so there's enough time for this enzymatic reaction to happen and for the conversion to occur. Another interesting approach is to think about mixing both things together. When you're crushing the garlic, you can already add a bit of turmeric to cook with, to use in your sautés and everything else. And remember that this combination is widely used, especially in the East. So you can use it to make rice, you can use it to make beans, you can use it to make roast meat, ground meat, chicken, or vegetables. Use it as a base. Wherever you would use garlic, just add a bit of turmeric as well, and you'll really be able to give more power to that meal, thinking about boosting our immunity. Also remember that people say, "Oh, Patricia, but you talk a lot about turmeric. Don't you have to add black pepper too?" Yes, black pepper really helps with the bioavailability of curcumin, potentially increasing it by up to 1,000%. But remember that another thing that really helps curcumin is fat. So if it's a healthy fat, if you use olive oil to sauté, pork lard, or even the fat from the food itself, these already help with the bioavailability and solubilization of curcumin. So the black pepper is not imperative. It's not absolutely necessary. It's an excellent addition if you can add it and if you consume it. But if you have any restrictions, remember to focus on healthy fats, because that way you'll also be able to enhance these effects. Another option is to think about garlic in the form of garlic tea and add turmeric to it. Remember that I have a video here on the channel talking more about garlic tea and turmeric tea, and I'll leave them down below in the description for you. In this case, the ideal would be for you to add a pinch of black pepper, because you won't have much fat there unless you drink this along with food. For example, "Oh, Patricia, I have the habit of having this for breakfast every day, and then I take the opportunity to eat scrambled eggs with it." Perfect. You can add a bit of pepper to the eggs. You don't need to put pepper in the drink. Remember that everything mixes together in our stomach, so it doesn't necessarily have to be mixed on the plate, just consumed at the same time. Tell me down below if you already use this combination or if you're going to start using it. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, that helps me a lot, and share it with someone who will enjoy it, with someone who needs it. Let's expand this chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.